So I can't believe I'm almost through all 10 of the Feisty Manifesto. This week, I have been thinking a lot about week 9 or number 9, which is I own my missteps. And I want to be really honest with you. I'm only here because of my missteps, my mistakes, the things that I have said and done that weren't accurate, weren't appropriate. Um, I feel like the measure of success truly is the amount of mistakes or missteps that you've made and the resilience that you have to continue to do the work, to show up and to apologize. Because apologies and taking responsibility for your actions as a professional, it doesn't shrink your leadership. It actually helps you relegate your ego and it enables you to learn. Yeah, I meet a lot of leaders who want only to be known as experts. And I get it. I get I get that because I'm an expert and I know a lot of things. But I am aware also that there's so many things that I know today that I will know even more about them in the future. Or what I know today isn't exactly what I will hold to be true or the full picture in the future. And that's because it's a journey. It's not a destination. So last week in the newsletter, I gave you this picture of one of my biggest failures with an interest holder, and it really was. I can own the misstep today. It was a lot tougher to own it in the moment. And to be honest with you, I think there was part of me that wanted to blame myself for their poor behavior. I don't know if you ever feel that way. Do you ever have your moments where you question, like, oh, if I'd have done this, if I'd have said this, maybe they wouldn't have done that, and then it's futile. I mean, it's okay to think those things for a season, but if you stay there for very long, you will end up creating ulterior kind of facts or choose your own adventure stories. Do you remember those? I mean, some of you may not be old enough to remember, but I remember when I was a preteen that I would read books that had choices toward the end where you could choose how it was going to go. And it was literally like choose your own ending. And I remember wanting to read those books all the time and read all the alternate endings because there were always so many variables that I found fascinating and interesting. This is what life is like. This is what leadership is like. And this is also what it means to own your missteps because there is a pathway forward through that is going to work no matter what. And whichever one you choose will work no matter what, because when you own your misstep, you change the course of your journey. And is it good? Is it bad? It doesn't matter. You make it good by choosing resilience in the midst of it. You know, the vendetta that this interest holder ended up having against obviously me and my team, it was horrible. And the hard part about that is that this leader goes on today. They won. They absolutely won. In fact, they probably have mistreated and continued to mistreat other people most of their career. Was it our responsibility to try to shut her down? No, it wasn't. It was my responsibility and our responsibility to do what we needed to do. The fact that she had so much control and power and was kind of a sleeping giant, and that then when she recognized she had the power, she shot the whole thing down and she filed reports on us and she complicated our operations. In some ways, all of those things made us stronger as a team. Was it right for her to do? No, but what's right? What's wrong? What I have learned from that, of course, is I don't underestimate those initial conversations. I do not underestimate those interest holder connections that I make. I do anticipate more that they're going to go awry. That's not because I'm a negative ninny. It's because as a project professional, I want to do risk analysis wisely. And I recognize that that risk exists with every interest holder, including the ones that you think are on your side. So, my overall lesson that I learned, and the reason why I want to own my missteps as part of this feisty manifesto, is because I cannot control someone else's behavior, but I can own my own challenges. I can own my own blind spots or bias. And what I had to begin to understand and take responsibility for is that when I underestimate the risk will potentially catch me off guard. When I overlook early signals, that is going to cost me in the future. I'm going to have to navigate that. When I assume someone is no big deal or they're neutral, instead of asking them or even finding out whether they are aligned, it's going to cost me. It's going to cost something, time, energy, sometimes money. And the whole idea of being nice, it's not interest holder engagement. Niceness, I'm a Canadian. As a Canadian, I'm known for being nice. We are known for being nice. Canadians, that niceness is a veiled, highly opinionated, boiling just beneath the surface veneer. And I don't like it. I don't think being a feisty leader means you ever need to be nice. I think being a feisty leader means you need to be kind. And kindness means we speak the truth. Do we do it professionally? Absolutely. When we do it unprofessionally, do we own it? Do we apologize? Do we? Absolutely. But we don't pretend and or show niceness as a substitute for doing the heavy work of finding out what people really believe, feel, and think. You know, I just was blindsided by this interest holder in this situation, but I am not ever going to be responsible for the actions she took. But I am responsible to take something from that and to learn. So that's why I care so much about risk assessment, risk analysis. And like I said, it's not because I'm a negative ninny. It's not actually because I think the bad is going to happen at all. It's because, funny thing, the stuff we think is bad, when we own it, when we see it, when we plan for it, inevitably it's not as bad. So it's kind of like by facing that right from the beginning, by predicting that it would be more negative than positive, it creates a space for us to do the work of making it positive. And owning the missteps and the mistakes, it doesn't diminish who we are as leaders. It actually strengthens our ability to discern the next time. And it helps us increase our intuition professionally. And most of all, it can really expand our EQ. And EQ, emotional intelligence, self-awareness, self-regulation, this is the stuff that makes all the difference in the way we navigate the world, our workplace, our home life. The feisty way forward in owning our missteps is to just not dismiss early signs, is to not assume that people share our values, and to recognize that they don't share our values is still something that we can leverage. And let's not rely on goodwill alone or niceness to get us through. Let's do the work. Let's ask each other those questions. Sometimes they're going to be tough. Sometimes they may actually hurt a little bit to ask. But in the grand scheme of things, it is about owning and being accountable for our behavior. So I don't ever want to confuse courtesy with safety. I don't want ever to see someone that approaches me with niceties as someone that I then automatically can trust. I want to actually know. I want to recognize who they are and at the same time make efforts on my end to build that rapport. But it doesn't just apply to interest holder engagement. It also applies to how we live our life, how we engage with the world, how we engage with one another. And in personal relationships, it's even more important to do this. Authenticity means showing up exactly how we feel, communicating that, but at the same time, not being made to feel ashamed. We're coming up to the holiday season, and I want to own my missteps in my relationships with my family and my expectations of the holidays. We have a lot of kind of Christmas style traditions, even though not everyone in my family kind of recognizes Christmas anyway. But the holidays, there's lots of ritual within them. But I don't want to just make assumptions that people value those things the same way that I think they should. And actually lean in and towards and ask those critical questions. Sometimes it's going to mean discomfort, but at the same time, I want that genuine authenticity. And there are days in the next 2 weeks that I'm not going to feel like doing anything. And I don't want to just do the things because I'm being nice to my loved ones. I want to actually communicate to them, hey, you know what? I'm not feeling up to this, but I do want to do it. So I'm just going to be honest with you. My heart isn't fully engaged. Um, but let's work together and do something. Let's, bake that pie, if that's what it is, or let's, make that special meal, even if I don't feel like it. But I want to convey and communicate how much I'm not actually engaged with it. That means if other people are upset, I'm going to own that for them. I can't change their behavior. I can't change that they're going to be disappointed in me, but I can be authentic. And then if they're upset, if they're offended, I can say, I'm sorry. I'm sorry that you're offended. I'm sorry that you're upset. My intention was not to hurt you, but I do feel badly that you're hurting. Because accountability isn't about taking the blame. There's nothing wrong with us deciding we don't feel up to something or that we feel incapable of doing something. Um, but we do need to take the lesson, and that is, what does it mean? And like I said, as the Canadian, to put nice on the shelf and to think about what's kind to me. I didn't ask myself what was kind to me most of my career. I thought only about making everyone else around me pleased with me. And that's just a losing proposition. So, yes, my ninth feisty manifesto point is I own my missteps. I make apologies for my behavior, even though I recognize that my behavior may just be hurting someone, but not be wrong. I will lead with awareness when I engage with individuals. I will not have my ego win to, feel protected. I will recognize that there are early signs, and a lot of those early signs would be completely navigated if I just stopped being nice and were transparent and honest and authentic. So that's what I've been thinking about this week. I have one more week of thinking about the Feisty Manifesto. And I'm going to publish that on Saturday. And then I'll be back to share with you next Friday, which will be an interesting Friday because we will be in the fray. But I will be here to share with you. And yeah, and then the Feisty Manifesto will have been fully disclosed, fleshed out, and who knows where it's going to go. But thank you for listening. Thank you for um, wanting to do this journey with me. And let's get feisty, shall we? I think we should. I think getting feisty is a very good idea.